Picture this, your employee is on vacation, but before taking their time off, they complete all their tasks and hand it over to the manager. Now the manager reviews things once the employee is already gone and then sends them messages after messages. This can now go in two ways. The employee checks the messages and edits their work while on vacation, or employee turns off all notifications, enjoys their vacation, and then deals with the work once they're back. Let's consider another case. Your manager loves your dedication and proactiveness in the team and thinks you should be given more responsibilities at work. So instead of hiring a whole new person to do a separate job, they give it to you. But here's the catch. You don't get a pay raise or a title bump. So would you take it or do you turn it down? I don't know if you noticed this yet, but there's a pattern emerging. Just to drive my point home, let's take a completely different third example. You are a manager and you've just gotten a completely new client requirement that needs to be worked on during the weekend. So you tell your team and give them the option to be a part of the project. You notice that there are two differing opinions that emerge. Some employees love the option of working with a high-profile client and are ready to take it on, while the others don't want to take it on because they don't receive any extra compensation. Now, in the latter case, in all instances, when employees choose this, they are quiet quitting their work. Sounds pretty normal, right? Isn't this what employees are given the right to do? So why is quiet quitting such a big deal right now? Crystal Lay, a HR leader and expert on quiet quitting, tells us why.
The term itself, quiet quitting, was that surfaced in APAC last year, 2021. There was a planking thing to show the frustration around employer expectations against what employees received in exchange for their efforts. And the expectations were not aligned with the remuneration around their jobs. And so that's where that began. It picked up in the United States last spring, or maybe it was this spring, with someone in New York who was 21, who was like, hey, I'm here for this. I'm here for this idea of like, we shouldn't be doing more than what we're getting paid to do. And that really is employment. Like, we hire people to do something in exchange for money, benefits, perks, et cetera, all of those things that we talk about in our EVPs. But the job description that we hand people when we're interviewing is what they're paid to do. So quiet quitting is really just saying, we're going to do what you hired us to do. So for a company, it's an equity issue, and we'll discuss that in a little bit. But for the individual, it's really about divorcing, and then this came from NPR, so these are not my words, but they're beautiful. I think it's the best definition I've seen of this. It's divorcing your ego from what you do for a living and not striving for perfection, but rather to do your job. So you're setting boundaries and you're completing the tasks that are required of you that are in your job description within the time and in the payment that's allotted for that. And that's it.
So quiet quitting is well within the rights of an employee, right? But if continuous disengagement leads to attrition, that's when it becomes a problem for the employer as well. So how would an employer create a strong employer brand that stays authentic and helps retain employees? Here's Crystal's advice.
So since the dawn of time, we have imparted messages, wisdom, warnings. Warnings aren't necessarily related here, but everything that we wanted to know, knowledge, has been passed through stories. And so when we look at employer branding and how to be able to share these things without coming off as too performative, I think you let your employees do your talking. And you can come up with topics. So, we're working with an organization right now on creating the content around their employer value proposition pillars, which is important. Like, your content should be tied to who you are, both individually and as an organization. So we want to be able to share the stories of our employees within the context of what we're able to provide due to the work experience they'll have as part of the organization. So I think you can give a topic. And in this instance, it might be like, what are you able to do because you work at XYZ, or as a result of the compensation you receive for the effort that you put in, what has that enabled in your life? And then just let them talk and share those stories. And some of them will be great and some of them will be corny, and that's okay. I think one thing that the pandemic should have taught us is that as people, we connect with people. And we should have known that before. Like, this is not a new lesson, folks, at all, in any way, shape, or form. But we connect best with other people. We don't want to hear the words of solidarity from a brand. We want to hear from their people. And so, whether that's sharing their dogs at work or their cats or whatever your favorite kind of pet is. I have grandchildren, so that they do more damage than any pet. So, that's all we have. But whatever that is, whether it's sharing your pets or your passions or your interests, your favorite books, the exercise you do, whatever it is that makes you as an individual, HackerEarth should let you share that. As the head of GBS, I should be encouraging my employees to share the same. Like, we should all encourage our employee groups to share what they're able to do as a result of being part of our organization. And sometimes that will be work related and sometimes that will not, but that's balance and that's good.
So in conclusion, how should employers view quiet quitting? Brad Stulberg put it nicely when he said, for some people, work is just a job. You do it, you leave it, you live your life. But for other people, work is a mastery. It is a craft, it is a large part of your identity and a big source of fulfillment. And both are totally fine. For more information on quiet quitting, check out our webinar with Crystal Lay and our blogs on it too. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media channels to stay updated with the latest trends in recruitment.